Hello, my faithful listeners slash viewers of the Coders Startup Podcast. I'm just recording this after we recorded episode 40, which is what you're about to hear. I just want to say that stick till the end of the episode. Just randomly, I decided to do something a little bit different, and I recorded the conversation I had with Carter right as soon as we started talking between the two of us with respect to what we're going to talk about in this episode number 40. So I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look at how Carter and I go about creating the plan around what it is that we're going to talk about in an episode. And I use that word plan very loosely. So if you want to hear some funny banter back and forth between the two of us, or even see it for those of you who are watching the feed here at the Coder Startup, you can go to coderstartup.com/40, that's 40, the number, to see the video itself, or just to listen to the audio if that's all you can do. So stick to the end of the episode. You'll hear us going back and forth about how we planned out this episode. So without further ado, let's cue in the music and cue in the rest of the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Coder Startup Podcast, now episode 40. You are joined by myself, Trevor Page, the host, and as always, the right-hand man, Carter the Marketer Johnson. How you doing, buddy?
Good. What's happening, man?
There you go. So I think for those of you who are blessed with watching the video, although I might just put the little intro part into the audio as well, Carter and I were just, chit-chatting back and forth about what we're going to talk about in this episode. So a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look for those of you who, managed to see that. In any case, we're finally back now after how many weeks have we taken off because of the wedding, honeymoon, all that stuff? Has it been like
it's been a while. I think it has. I think it's been about 4 weeks. So
it's been about 4 weeks. So it's been a while since Carter and I have been at this. So hopefully there's no, what would you call them? Not beginner jitters, but just getting back into it jitters. I don't know, whatever. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, so we finally settled on a good topic. I feel like it was a good. It just sort of came together between the two of us. Go ahead, Carter. What is the topic for today's episode?
Yeah, well, it's really relevant to what we're both going through, but we decided that we'd theme this growing pains, lessons learned and still to be learned.
Yes.
So you're going to hear some of the things that we've done, those aha moments, and of course the times where we've already known what to do but made the mistake of repeating more mistakes. So it should be fun.
So yeah, we might as well just start with that one. That's the not the elephant in the room, but the elephant in my room in my life. It's lessons learned before that I didn't truly learn that I'm learning again. God, it has to do with my email list. So, I mean, for those of you who follow along with the income reports, you saw last month's income report for August 2015 was great. It was a record-breaking month. I pulled in just shy of $20,000 in a month. And I was all happy and it was great. And then I had my wedding and then I went away on my honeymoon. And it was about halfway through the honeymoon that I was like, I haven't made any new sales in a while. Like I had, residual sales coming in from people on, the 6-month payment plans, which is actually a good thing all in and of itself. I should probably,
Yes.
lean on the merits of offering a payment plan. But yeah, I hadn't had any payments come in. And I was scratching my head, what's going on? But I was like, what? I'm on my honeymoon. I'm having fun. We went to St. Lucia, and it was it was a great experience. So I just was like, what? If there's one time in my life when I want to disconnect from work, probably should be on the honeymoon. So I'll let it go. So anyway, get back, and by now it's probably mid-September by the time I'm back in the driver's seat of my business, and I'm realizing that my sales have completely dropped off. And my conversion rate for my email funnel is pitiful now. It was like 0.1% conversion rate from a email lead to a sale. Just terrible. So something was horribly, horribly wrong. So after a few days of doing analysis and digging deep and figuring out what the heck it could be that was going wrong, my first hypothesis was in that I had, sort of made my list tired from doing this whole flash sale from last month. And they just didn't want to buy this month. But then I negated that as a possibility because I went back and double checked all my email leads, and I saw that the people I did email about this flash sale and did this whole sale with were not the same people that were currently going through my regular email sales funnel. So the people going through my sales funnel had no idea there was any sort of sale. So there's no way that they would have been affected by this. So this was a legitimate issue with my funnel. So the only thing that I've done of late was that I completely transferred all the new leads coming in over to my new funnel that my copywriter that I'd hired and paid money to had created for me. So the big mistake there, the big red flag for me, and even though I think I said out loud that I wasn't going to do this and I did it anyway, was that you should never take something that works. This is the lesson that I learned. Never take something that works and completely change it, like the entire thing. You never completely change anything that's working just fine. If it's paying your bills, why would you completely? I understand the need to grow it and to reach and stretch and try to make it better, but to take the entire thing and just completely change it is just a terrible idea. And I've learned that lesson now twice. So what it ended up being, sorry, go ahead, Carter.
Yeah, I want to interject. I'm just dying to talk.
Go.
So many things are going through my mind, but hearing you say that, like, it's so true. Because I look back on my entrepreneurial career, and it's always been when when things are going well, and then when things crash. For me, it's always been, okay, what's working, and then for whatever reason, I'm like, this looks fun over here. Yeah. Let's go do this, and you completely abandon what's working. Yeah. And it's such a fine line, because you got to figure out how to grow the business, but at the same time, not completely abandoning the strategy that got you there. And it's an art, I think. The other thing is, it really reminds me of SEO stuff, because in SEO, a big part of it is just, when things are working, don't touch anything. Don't mess with it. And you'll see people just like tweak just a little bit more, or do this or do that. And it just nose drives organic traffic. So yeah, I just want to throw those things out while you keep going with your story though.
Yeah. But I mean, we mean well as entrepreneurs, right? We want to grow the business. We want to keep iterating. I mean, it's in our nature. It's in our blood to do that. So again, lesson learned. If it's working, again, you can change it, but don't change the entire foundation of it. You need to figure out what it is that you're comfortable with losing. This is something that I did with an investment. I had some, extra money laying in my personal banking account, and I said, well, what can I do with this extra money? And I can invest it. Okay, great. Let's talk about investments. And then I said, well, hold on. How much am I willing to lose of this investment? If I lost it all, would I be completely screwed? If that's the case, you probably shouldn't risk the entire thing, because it's risk. All of this is what we do, is risk. So that's a good question to ask yourself. But I was willing to risk that money, and I invested it anyway. So for me, this is pretty much my entire business. Maybe 90% of it comes from my email sales funnel. So looking back again for the second time, it's silly for me to say, I'm going to change the entire sales funnel that brings in 90% of my revenue, which pays the bills and puts a roof over my head. I'm just going to change the entire thing. I mean, God, how many times are you to learn this lesson? So again, take it from me, ladies and gentlemen, don't make that same mistake. So the way to do it is, how much of it are you willing to risk to lose? I probably should not have, my first thought was, well, I'll try half. That's what I went in with the good intentions of saying, half I will divert to this new funnel, and half I will leave in my existing funnel, which I know works. Even then, that was probably too much with my first thought. But then I saw a little bit of positive signs at the very beginning. And those were like the first couple of sales and the only sales that I had for the entire month. And that's the other thing that messed me up. I had initial good signs for the sales funnel. So just a few data points, I said, I'll just, that's kind of what led me to say I feel comfortable doing this, because I felt like it wasn't as risky as it really was. And then, of course, I went away on my honeymoon, and I probably would have realized earlier if I wasn't on my honeymoon that things were going wrong, and I probably could have reverted quicker, but that's neither here nor there. So probably should have done not even 50-50. I should have maybe done 75-25, where 25% of the leads should have gone to this new funnel. And the other important part is you should always have some sort of objective way to measure the results. Okay, you have to figure out objectively how to measure those results. So that's what I've done now. I've had to spend probably 2 days, 1 day worth of planning and another day worth of executing on the plan, a way to bring it back to the sort of 50-50 is what I've decided to do. 50% going into a sales funnel. Well, the current one that I have now, which I know doesn't work, and I know it's silly that I'm leaving that in there. I probably should change that. But 50% going into the sales funnel that I think will do better. So the question here is, what is it that broke? So for my sales funnel, it looks like the copywriter actually did a good job, which is great. I paid him to do that. I expected him to pull through with that, and it looks like that's what's happening, because the traffic going to my sales page has doubled. So traffic coming from people seeing my sales emails, clicking on the button to check out this, course or whatever. They click on the button and they see my sales page. Traffic to that sales page has doubled. So that's fantastic. Technically speaking, all things remaining the same, that could lead to a doubling of my sales. That should technically lead to a doubling of my sales if I have twice the traffic. And doubling my sales would be absolutely fantastic and life-changing, right? But the problem is I changed a whole bunch of other things after that point. I changed the sales video. I changed the sales copy on the page. I changed the fact that I removed scarcity from it. I started adding new emails onto the end of that. A whole bunch of stuff after that has changed. So now I said, okay, I see what has worked in terms of the traffic going to that page, and I see what has not worked in terms of conversions to sales. So I'm going to hit that one point, the success versus failure point, and say, okay, I need to make changes here. But instead of just saying I'm going to make changes here to the rest of it with the parts that aren't working, I'm just going to revert those parts. I should say I am changing those parts, but I'm changing them back to what I know works, which is adding back in the scarcity, removing the emails after that, et cetera, doing a survey to ask them why they didn't sign up, all that stuff. I'm going to put that back into my funnel. And hopefully when I cram those two together, and now that I'm doing a split test, I'll see a very statistically significant result in those differences. So yeah, that's a long way of me rambling to say I had to learn this lesson yet again, and don't take all the eggs that are in the one basket and throw the basket away.
Especially if it's a good basket.
It's a good basket. I
want to talk about though, the bigger macro view, if you will, of what goes on in our minds when stuff like this happens. Because here's the bottom line, and there's probably people out there who handle stuff like this a ton better than I do or you do, Trevor. But for me, I found when stuff hits the fan, so to speak, your mind, you're not always thinking clearly. And a lot of times we'll go into panic mode, like, oh my gosh, this is the end, the world's ending. I need to go back to getting a full-time job, or I'm never going to amount to anything, or, oh, this was all just a fluke anyways. Like you just start, all these emotional ripping in your soul starts happening. And I was doing this and I picked up on it about a year and a half ago, I'd say. And I started to just experiment with this. And I think I've referenced it before on our podcast, but I started making a checklist for my entrepreneurial dips. And I made this when I was very level, when I wasn't emotionally charged, but I started I created this checklist that I know if I get to one of those entrepreneurial dips where nothing's going right and I feel like everything's over and I just want to quit, all I have to do is get myself to this checklist. And then I can start going through and asking my questions to really level off and figure out and make a sound type judgment on the situation. And so that worked really, really well for me. It helped me rebound a ton faster when I was having these dips. And so I started rolling out that same type of process for other areas of my life. So if I feel like a client is, not getting the amount of work they deserve, I go to the checklist and I ask these questions, and then I'll pinpoint either A, what we need to do more of, or B, oh yeah, we're doing everything, things are good. So I have all these resource lists, and kind of through our conversation in our mastermind group, Trevor, it sounded like you too had this resource list in your head, because once everything slowed down and you like collected your thoughts, then you're like, okay, wait, something has gone wrong, but things have gone wrong before in the past. I just need to figure out and isolate the situation. Like, what is it? The world's not over, the sky's not falling.
So that's an interesting distinction though. So when you were talking about making this list for your dips and whatnot, maybe I don't understand. Can you give me some examples of what would be on that list? So you're feeling like everything's going wrong, nothing's going right, your sales aren't coming in, I don't know, and you're feeling like this was just all a big fluke, like you said. What does this look like?
So it starts off, so I get to it, and I have first off, basically things that can help me get in a state change. Because the worst thing you can do, I find, when you're feeling awful about the situation is to just sit there and think about it. You're kind of like in that rocking chair, just going back and forth. And when you're doing that, you're blowing up in your mind. It becomes a worse situation in your mind than what it actually is. So the first thing I do is I have a checklist of things to change my state. I ask myself, have you been outside? Go walk around. You'll feel better. Do push-ups, do burpees. I have all these different things that just to get me into a different state. Then I have the analysis part. So I ask these questions. Were you thinking about financing or finances? Articulate thoughts around that. Were you chasing an idea? Did it make you feel misaligned? So I have all these different things that I can go through and be like, no, yes, okay, now what? And keep digging deeper there. But again, like what I credit the power of this for me is it's just a matter of me getting to that list. Like all I have to do and concentrate, it's like that buoy in the ocean if you got thrown off of a boat. Nothing else matters. Just get to that buoy. And
good analogy. I like that.
Yeah. So I found the more that I create these resource lists when I'm sane, if you will, when things are going well, when there's not turmoil on the horizon, then the better off I am when that storm actually hits. And it's really, really powerful. So one suggestion I have.
You're probably gonna say what it is I'm about to ask, but how would you go about starting one of these? What is it that you?
Yes. Yeah. Better right into it. So I would look at, first off, make sure you're in a level space to do this activity where you can be completely honest with yourself. But I would look back and flip through your planner, your agenda, if you keep a journal, flip through it and look at times when you can see a spike, an extreme in either situation, like something that occurred, and see if you can find something that's repetitive in your life. So for you, Trevor, like this, over the last 8 months, I can think of 2 instances where something like this has happened. You know what I mean? So you might want to create a resource list that anytime you see a drastic sales dip, you can immediately go to and start asking yourself these questions. Like,
it's kind of like a diagnostic.
Totally.
For my business is what you're saying specifically with my example. Yeah.
And it can be a business or personal though. You know what I mean? Like I would consider the entrepreneurial dip checklist that I have is more personal, even though it pertains to business. Yeah. But I would, so how I do it is I look for repeated offenses, if you will, of when, something has happened where I know during that period I wasn't thinking straight, things were blurry, I was all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I try to break down just a checklist to go through for when that comes up again. Hopefully it doesn't come up again, but if it does, then I know, hey, I can just get there and I can start the analysis that's going to calm me down. It's going to level off my thinking.
I like that. So like for me, it would be, check the, I don't know, to be extreme, check that the emails are delivering in the first place. Yeah. And check that the open rates are the same, check that the click-through rates are the same, and then, check traffic to the landing page, check, I don't know.
It would be something like what list you could ask yourself to list all the changes that were recently made. And you could write down, I changed emails on the back end. I changed the copywriting. I took off the timer. You know
what's an interesting, you hit on something very interesting there, something that I've been wanting to do, but for some reason I just haven't done it yet. And I think the main reason why I haven't started is because I haven't started, which is kind of a ridiculous reason. And that is whenever I make any sort of change in my business. So taking my business where it is, it's working fine, it's paying the bills, I'm very happy with how things are going. Anytime I make any change in the business, I write it down. I write down what I did and what date I did it on, maybe even what time I implemented it or published that change or whatever, just so I can have a running tally somewhere of a list of changes. So then sometime in the future, I can say, whoa, September 3rd was my last sale, and then I haven't had a sale since September 3rd. That's valid data. It's now September 24th. I haven't had a single sale since September 3rd. And that ties into what I'm about to talk about. So now I can go back and say, okay, well, what happened on September 3rd? Or in and around that date? I'm sure I would go back and check the list and say, oh, I flipped everything over to the new sales funnel. I guarantee you that's when it's happened.
So you already have. So maybe for you, the whole resource list checklist would be the first step is to go back, identify last good point. Okay, what changes were made right there? And immediately you're going to be able to isolate the problem.
Yeah, now, I'll be able to say, oh, I did this, that, and the other thing. Oh, these don't matter. These don't make any sense. This wouldn't affect this. And, but hold on, this one might. Let me do some research on that, et cetera, et cetera.
And you can make that broader too. You could ask, if it's a declining trend that happens over, a year, you could go back to each level and look at that. So you already have like a built-in system that you could do that. It's just a matter of reminding yourself when stuff is down. Go to get back to that point. And that's where I love checklists, because things are hectic. They aren't making sense. And you can just read it and you're like, okay, what did I say to do?
Yeah.
Okay,
when I was thinking clearly, what is my advice to myself again?
Yeah.
That's good. So I really like that. I like this conversation, just this past, whatever it's been, 20 minutes of us talking about this. As long as I can implement it, and I'll hold you accountable as well as myself for making sure I do that from now on. I'll have to figure out where to write it down and have a central place to write all that stuff down. But
I've brought up MV Alt numerous times, I know on the show, but because it's the same principle as a text editor, but allows you to search for things. I find that's where it's easiest, because if it's, I don't always remember a file name or something, but I can type in the search field, dip, sheets, entrepreneur, all these things, and I'll eventually be able to find it. And when your mind's going haywire, you want it on that 2-year-old level where it's just.
Yeah, I think what made sense for me in my business would be Evernote. But even then, I think it could even be a transition. I mean, I use sticky notes like no tomorrow. I use sticky notes they're all over my office. And they're very helpful. And so maybe I would transition from a sticky note to Evernote. But anyway, that brings me to my next point, which was, okay, I haven't had a sale since September 3rd, but I might still make about $4,000 to $5,000 this month. So for those of you
that's the worst month you're going to have, you're going to be all right.
Exactly. So for those of you listening who haven't even hit that point yet, you're probably saying to yourself, why are you freaking out, Trevor? $4,000 or $5,000 is great for a month. And I don't dispute that. That's a great, amount of sale. A lot of that goes away to expenses and whatnot, but I'll still be able to put food on the table and not have to take out another mortgage or something like that on my place. So why that was possible was through these payment plans. So offering your customers payment plans is not only good for the customers, but it's good for your cash flow as well. Because I've had, however many people paying $87 every month for 6 months. I've had a whole bunch of these little $87 transactions come in to the point where I was able to make, like I said, probably 3,000 in those sales from those recurring, payment plan sales. So definitely.
I'll be back real quick, because this has to do with our book of the week anyways and what you said. But so you keep talking, I'll be right back. All right?
Okay, that's fair. So that is was a savior for myself and personally, and obviously a good point for my business, because having that almost, I can't say predictable cash flow, because with any payment plans, whether it's a payment plan or whether you're charging month by month for your product, there's always going to be some sort of attrition. There's going to be people who cancel their subscription to your plan, or there's going to be people who just default on their payments for the payment plan. But either case, that's only accounts for about 20% of the income, or rather the lack of income. The other, 80% usually tend to renew their subscription or actually pay, go through the payment for their plan. So having a payment plan in place has been a definite savior for my business. And like I said, it's also good for the customer because I think it helps your sales, because people are less intimidated to pay over the course of a few months as opposed to a lump sum payment. So definitely a good thing in my business that I'm glad I have going. So there you go. So take it away, Carter. What do you got for us?
Well, I was just going to say, I'm a huge fan of the residual model, the subscriber type business model. Mm-hmm. It would take a lot for me to enter a different business that has another model versus just the recurring revenue type. That's how my company's set up now. It's predictable. It helps, make sure we have the correct amount of labor and we can produce what we say we can. So I like it a ton. But if we're ready to do the book of the week, I got a great.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to say.
Do you want to say one more thing?
Yeah, because we started recording. Yeah. I just want to say one more thing with respect to.
Throw it in there.
With respect to sort of organization / motivation. I know I've been struggling still with motivation some days, but going through this sort of crunch time right now of me getting my business back to where it should be, it all comes, for me, it's all about writing stuff down. Again, for you guys, when I first started as an entrepreneur, I had no issues with motivation. I was like the motivation captain. I remember, conversations back when we were in our mastermind group early on, like in 2012 and 13. I remember oftentimes one of you would just say, "How do you get all that done, Trevor?" Like, I remember you guys being very impressed with my sort of work ethic, and that's completely dropped off. So I'm trying my best to get back there. But I think what really helps is writing stuff down, writing down what it is that I need to get done, because I always find that I'm in my head about what it is that I need to do next. And it's always floating around. And the more time I spend thinking about what it is that I should do and having it floating around in my head, the more time it gives me to say, oh, I need to have a shower, or, oh, I feel hungry, or I'm going to go play a game of FIFA, or I need to do the, laundry, or anything that'll get me out of this chair.
The evil of procrastination.
Procrastinating, right? So so when I write it down, like yesterday, I just turned and looked and I said, okay, I've got all these stickies on my wall. Okay, that's the next task. Okay, now my head's already snapped to it. I'm already thinking ahead about how I'm going to solve that problem and how I'm going to get that work done. And I just do it. So I probably said this before, but I need to keep doing that, sticking to the sort of agile methodology of writing down tasks, breaking down a project into tasks with sticky notes, and putting them on my wall, and then using those sticky notes to actually carry out those tasks.
Totally.
I feel much more productive. I feel much happier. I feel much more organized. I feel positive about the future just by writing some stupid stuff down on some sticky notes. It's amazing how simple it is, but how profoundly it affects me and my work. So, and for me, it's writing stuff down in a notebook. Like I carry around, I have tons of spiral notebooks with just the to-dos and everything else. And I've tried the fancy software, the different things on your phone, everything. I've tried a ton of different stuff. And for whatever reason, this is the one that just works for me. So it's all about finding whatever it is and not abandoning that, maybe experiment a little bit with other types of things, but going back to really what works. That's right. Oh, the sticky note thing works. Let's flip everything over to, I don't know. I didn't have anything lined up there, but yeah, I'm sure you guys get the
Trello. There we go.
Trello. There you go. Yes. All right, cool. Right. So now that I've said my piece, we can move on and
yes. So book of the week. Just finished this one. It's called The Automatic Customer.
Creating a subscription business in any industry.
Any industry. It was great, and I felt like I was someone who understood and knew a great amount about the subscription business industry, and this just added to the well of knowledge, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's a great read. It goes back to a lot of the things you were saying, Trevor, about how it's so valuable, even if it's not your primary business model, but to have at least a portion of that, which you can do through like financing or just other types of offers within your business. So, for example, if you're a programmer out there and you have a lot of clients, you could add on some sort of maintenance or routine report on the back end just to have a small channel of subscription type revenue. But it's just a great read, and he highlights so many businesses who are doing it correctly and the insights from them. And a lot of it is cool because he talks about the businesses before they implemented this and then after, and the headaches it took away, the opportunities it added to, and businesses of all sizes. He talks about businesses that want to stay fairly small and just kind of be a lifestyle type business. He talks about businesses that are in like the home improvement niche, and I didn't even think you could create a subscription model out of that, but a genius company, I think it was out in Maryland, who's doing it and doing a fabulous job of it. So I'd recommend that book. Fantastic read. I already recommended it to someone in our mastermind group, Trevor. So yes, sir.
Call again for those of you who weren't listening.
Yes, The Automatic Customer by John. I'm going to butcher his last name.
John Warlow.
Warlow?
Warlow? Like warrior, only with the word low at the end.
There we go. There you go. So,
cool.
Automatic Customer.
Beautiful. Do you even think about apps of the week at all?
I'm trying to think if there's any new app that I am using on my phone in particular. I can tell you of one.
Let's say I have one, but it's in no way, shape, or form related to anything that's helpful with business.
I was going to say mine's not either, other than it might save you some money. So you want to go?
No, I'm not. Mine's not helpful at all. Mine will actually take your business and just take it down a few notches if you implement my app that I found. So,
well, I'm going to go with I downloaded the mobile version of Slack. I'm going to use that app versus the other one. I like it. Why I was hesitant about it, I have 7 people on my team in Slack rooms, and then I also have a few different agencies that I'm in their Slack rooms. So my biggest fear was I don't want all these darn interruptions throughout the day. I was very, very reluctant to uploading it. And I uploaded it, and I put they have a way that you can set the alerts to where it only bothers you if someone mentions your name or a highlighted word. And I'm only on the first week of doing it, but experimenting with that, it's going really, really well. And also what I realized was it allows me to maximize that dead time. So if you're waiting for an appointment or something, I can hop on there, check things out, and knock them out versus having to wait when I go home and get on my computer and log in that way.
Yeah, it's a good point. You're sort of turning it into productive time for your business there instead of doing, probably the default, if that wasn't there, would be like Facebook or something. That's probably not. Yeah.
Well, I deleted Facebook off my phone. I don't.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I did that like 2 months ago. I didn't tell you about that.
Good for you.
Oh, I love my life. I hate Facebook. Don't tell anyone, but I hate it.
I think we all, on some level, hate Facebook, and well, I should say, once we reach a certain age, we hate Facebook. And yeah, I recognize it's so amazing that now we're just getting off topic. I think we can say this episode is done. Thank you everybody for listening. Now we need to go off topic and talk about this stuff. But I have to tell myself, I tell myself before I hop on Facebook, it'll be something that I have to do inside of Facebook. So there's a reason why I'm loading up the app. It's like, okay, I need to check on my advertising campaigns and verify that the cost per lead is at X or lower, or something, like some specific reason. And I say to myself, okay, that's the reason. Don't get sidetracked with anything else, Trevor. Go on the Facebook, go there, click on the bloody icon, and then click on ads, and that's it.
And that's it.
And even though I say that to myself, I'm not even kidding you. I will see a video. It'll be a video. It's always a video or maybe a funny picture. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. And I'll like click on it, and then I'm gone. And then I'm gone for half an hour. And some people just say that because it's that this is a real problem for me. That really does happen almost every single time.
Delete it off your phone. Delete it off your phone, man.
I know, but it's scary because then it's like, well, what am I going to do while I'm in that dead time?
Well, what I do is I bookmark articles that I want to read. So, I have like the blogs I follow and everything else. And I'll just, as I find them throughout the day, I'll put them in a list. And then whenever I have that dead time, I just scroll through those.
Okay, what list? How do you put it in a list? Is it an electronic list or?
Yeah, but it's sloppy. It's a
Okay.
email thread to myself.
Okay, gotcha.
So I just pull up my email and then click on it and then click the links. Or, I'll be honest, I'll be transparent here. ESPN does attract a fair amount of my time.
Gotcha.
So, I'll jump on there anytime. But yeah, I like Slack. Bringing it back full circle, I like Slack because it offers me to knock out stuff during those dead times.
There you go. So I think that might be a good, well, I can't say that Facebook on the phone is a time waster. I think it's Facebook on my desktop computer. Because that's where I'm doing the work. I have to I don't go and check out my ad campaign, stuff like that on my desktop or on my cell phone.
So
it's a pain.
Here's the solution for that. Delete your password. So you have to manually type it in every time and make it a huge pain in the rear. Make it something obnoxiously long. So you're like, is it really worth me logging on?
Yeah. Well, although there's also, this is when I was part of Jamie Tardy's coaching program, recommended that you install a Facebook wall annihilator. So it completely gets rid of your
newsfeed
and it replaces
that.
or whatever, right? So I just clearly on some level I don't want to get rid of it because I haven't installed that yet. I know it's out there. I know it's free. There's no barrier to me using it other than just doing it. So,
just try it because after I did it, I felt so free. I felt lighter. I could fly. Honestly, yeah. I did not realize how much Facebook was just pulling me down and making me feel crummy.
All right, what's it called? Facebook. Let's do it. Let's just do it now. So I have no reason to not do it. Facebook news feed eradicator. Let's use that word because I think that's. Yeah, here we go. News feed eradicator. Yeah, and it replaces it with a quote. Add to Chrome. Add extension. Boom. Has been added.
Nice.
Add to Chrome to get these. So let me go to Facebook and just see if it's working now. Oh my God, it's working. There you go. That was quick.
That was easy. All right, we'll report on your. No, we didn't. But so there's another app out there for everyone who's struggling with the huge distraction of Facebook.
Newsfeed eradicator for Facebook. There you go. Google Chrome extension. Took me literally from not knowing what it was called to having it installed and working and verified. It was maybe 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Boom. So,
all right, there you go. That's your app of the week or tools of the week, whatever you want to call it, of the week. Thanks so much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into this episode. And hopefully we'll have yet another life-changing episode in the future next week. So take care of yourselves and bye for now.
See ya.
I decided to, just for the sake of being different, to record this part of the conversation because right now I don't know. We're going on to episode number 40 and I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. I shouldn't say I have no idea. I do have an idea, but I wanted to see if you had any ideas about what you wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah, I got a couple ideas. First off, before I forget, we should use a Zoom meeting for our weekly mastermind.
Oh, it works better?
A ton better. A ton better.
Yeah.
So let's see if Lucas and Amy would be down for that.
Because I mean, I already emailed a link anyway out to the whole group, so I might as well just.
And all they have to do is download the software once, but it's just a ton better than Hangouts. And every week.
Apparently my internet connection is unstable. Last I heard you say was every week.
Oh, I was just going to say every week Hangouts is just a... Wait, are you unstable or am I?
I don't know. Of course I'm not unstable. I'm plugged right into my router and I've got, 100 megabit down connection and a 10 megabit up.
You there now? I switched over. Our internet does this stupid thing and I hate Netgear for it. But it automatically boots off our Netgear 72.5G and onto Xfinity Wi-Fi, which is a weaker traffic source. Yeah, so I switched to the one we actually pay for.
You might be able to. There might be an option for choosing how to automatically or not to automatically connect. I don't know.
I have it set on there, like the
Okay.
whole automatic, but I don't know. But yeah, things to talk about. So
Yeah.
thinking one thing that's been really valuable for me, and I think it's like it can be helpful like in your situation, like when we were talking about just, you know, it's wrong sometimes. Like we're like, oh God, what the f am I gonna do? Well, I like to keep a resource list for all the different things. Fuck, is there someone biting me? Something on my neck, man. But
Well,
so I
turn
was thinking,
around. I have a video feed. I can see if there's anything on you. Doesn't look like it.
okay. So I was thinking we could talk about like how to basically like resources and checklist and putting them in place while you're thinking level, you know, because that's helped me over the years.
I'm not trying to follow. Well, this kind of might tie in with what I was thinking to talk about, but keep what else? What else you got?
That was like the big one because I think that's extremely valuable because I have like now a checklist that every time like a fan or I'm going through an entrepreneurial dip or, you know, my hustle checklist, if I ever need to like drum up money, like I have all these things that I've thought up when I was clear and level headed versus when I was
Panicking.
Yeah. So I thought that might be something that's helpful to pass along to people.
Sure.
What was the other thing? Yeah, that's all I got. You got anything?
Yeah, I was going to talk about sort of the same subject, actually, more broadly around organization and maybe motivation. So, yeah, organization in the same thing. Like, I had to learn the lesson once, and I'm learning it again, where it's like, you know, don't change what's working. If it's working, don't fully change the whole thing, you know. So that's annoying that I did that again and failed on it again. But anyway, but the other thing is, when I write down, I guess it's all about writing stuff down. When I write down what it is that I know I need to do, and as I'm talking to myself out loud and thinking about what I need to do, there's this disconnect when I talk about it and I don't write it down, and I should, because when I do, it makes me like 10 times more productive. So like what I did with I was talking with my dad, having a conversation with him about all the stuff I needed to do to start split testing the theory, the hypothesis that that the urgency, the scarcity was what is screwing stuff up. As I was talking to him, I was writing down all the sticky notes, and I created like however many sticky notes that is. The ones on top are the ones still left to do. The ones on the bottom are the ones that are done.
Nice.
So that's over half the work I've done already, and was just yesterday.
Yeah.
It was
so
huge.
What if we like call this growing pains and talk about the good, bad, and the ugly, and we can joust going back and forth with like the lessons you're talking about, some of the stuff I'm talking about, and interconnected.
Growing pains, lessons learned in 2015.
Growing pains, lessons learned and still to be learned.
Yeah. All right. I like it. So I've recorded this whole little bit that we're just talking about. I'll have to pull bits out because you were swearing. I think, did I tell you my podcast got removed from iTunes?
Which one?
My How to Program in Java podcast.
Why?
Just randomly, they pulled it out of iTunes and didn't really give me a reason. And I had to follow up with them, and then they gave me a list of reasons of what it could be. And the list is so broad, but the one reason that I feel like is even remotely close to being true is I failed to mark an episode as explicit, even though there wasn't a swear words in it or whatever. Possibly an episode in my 65 that I've done where maybe I've said some sort of a swear word and I didn't mark it as explicit, and maybe someone complained or a few people complained, and then they pulled my whole podcast off of iTunes. So as of right now, it's still not in iTunes, and as of right now, I don't know how I'm going to get it back on there. So that's like fairly catastrophic. I don't know.
Talk to John about that. John's got to have, or that community. You could probably say something.
I have posted in there, and everybody was just like, "Oh no!" And then they're all like, "Oh, this happened to me," and la la la. And people were like, "I had to re-upload my entire podcast, and I lost all my rankings. I lost all my reviews and ratings. I lost everything." And I was like, "I don't want to think about that right now. I don't."
Jeez.
Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do about it. But the lesson learned there might be don't swear on podcasts, because if that's what it led to, which I think is the most likely, it's just not worth losing your whole.
No, I feel like there's been a lot of podcasts that swear and stuff.
Yeah, but you just need to mark them as explicit is all.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
Anyway, so cool. Let me confirm. I believe it was episode 40 that we're doing, but it doesn't hurt to double check. Let's see. Coder Startup Podcast. Oops, wrong directory. Where? Oh, here it is. Yeah, episode 40 is the one we're on. All right, ready? Cool.